This conference will now be recorded.
If we've got most everybody here, I'm going to at least start by reading our due to the nature declaration to get things rolling. So, due to the nature of the declaration of state of emergency due to novel contravirus COVID-19 pursuant to code section 2.2-3708.2, this meeting is being held by electronic communication via the web platform GoToMeeting. The catastrophic nature of this declaration of emergency makes it impractical and unsafe to assemble a quorum in a single location, and the purpose of this meeting is to discuss or transact the business statutorily required or necessary to continue operations of this public body. And with that, I will call the meeting to order, and we will move on to roll call. Stacy?
Okay, we're going to run through the whole thing, including calling alternates. It helps us keep attendance. From Stafford County, Cindy Shelton.
Here.
Mark Dudenheffer.
Here.
Crystal Vanuch.
Here.
Meg Baumke. Thomas Cohen. From the city of Fredericksburg, Matthew Kelly.
Here.
William Withers. Tim Baruti. Mark Whiteley.
That's Whitley, by the way.
Whitley, thank you. Doug Fawcett. From Spotsylvania, Tim McLaughlin.
Here.
Chris Yakubowski. Deborah Frazier.
And this is David Ross filling in for Chris Yakubowski.
Thank you. Kevin Marshall. From PRTC, Charles Steigerwald.
Here.
Betsy Macy. Cynthia Porter Johnson. From the Secretary of Transportation, Marcy Parker.
Here.
Michelle Shropshire.
Here.
From King George, Ann Kupka.
Here.
Kathy Binder.
Here.
From Caroline County, Nancy Long. Jeffrey Black. From Fred, Jamie Jackson. Craig Reed. From Federal Transit, Tanya Holland. From VDOT, Susan Gardner. Stephen Haynes. From DRPT, Todd Horsley.
Here.
Jennifer DeBrole. From CTB, Cedric Rucker. From CTAC, Dave McLaughlin.
Here.
From Federal Highway, Ivan Rucker. And we do have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Stacy. I'm going to make a request, if it's not a problem for everybody. We have 4 items that we have to pass tonight, and I want to move those to the front of the list so we can get through them. So if there's any other discussion, we can take care of that. That would be item 7C, which is GW Right Connect work plan, has to be passed tonight. 7D, which would be the CMAQ money for the lease parking, and then of course the big ones, 8I, which is the UPWP approval, and 8J, which is the UPWP amendment. So what I'd like to do, if acceptable, is shift those to 7A through D, so we can take the time necessary to get through what we've got to get done, and then we can talk about anything else you want to talk about after that. If there's no issue with that, I will appreciate a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask, what is the phone dial-in number? Kevin Marshall's trying to dial in, but he needs just the phone number.
Stacy, you got that?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Stacy, I have it if you'd like me to give it.
Okay, I just pulled it up, so I am good, but thank you, Kate. So you're gonna dial 1-669-224-3319, and then there's an access code you have to enter.
Even for the phone number, even if you're just dialing?
Yes, you do.
Okay, and the access is 154-160-605?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let me get him, make sure he's got that.
You there, Tim?
I'm here.
Everybody got it?
So Kevin, are you on?
Kevin's dialing in right now.
All right. Well, can I get a motion on the modified agenda?
All right, I got you. I'll call in there.
Thanks.
For you.
You're unmuted.
Wow. Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Got a lot going on. Could you clarify which ones are going to be moved to the end?
No, I'm just going to take 4 and shift them to A, B, C, and D on 7, and everything else will just shift down accordingly. So the ones we have to pass tonight are GW Wright Connect Work Plan, which is 7C, then 7D, which is the CMAQ to lease parking, then 8I, which is the UPWP approval, and 8J, which is the UPWP amendments. All I want to do is shift those to the front, and everything else will just stay in line.
Okay, so the other action items can wait.
We'll just stay in order that they're in.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Right.
we're not voting on the agenda. We are just voting on the order of the discussion.
Right.
now.
We're voting to approve the agenda as modified with that one change, shifting those items up.
So I guess the question I want to make sure is that we had requested some modifications to the agenda, some updated documents. Are those part of it?
What other suggestions have there been?
Adam, I think Spotsylvania and Stafford sent you 3 documents. Are they included in this agenda?
We have those available to pull up. So Spotsylvania did send an amended resolution 2041 to us this afternoon, so we can have that available to pull up when we get to 7C, which as of right now will be the first item.
Now, 7, we're going to go with GW Wright Connect first, CMAQ second, UPWP, and then UPWP amendments, and then anything else that lines up after that. I just want to get the stuff that we have to do done, because my guess is we don't know where we're going to go after that.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree to that movement, but I would also like to make an amendment to your motion to consider some of the changes that staff has made for the TPP MOU. And those were sent to Adam. And
were they sent out, Adam?
Not as part of the meeting packet. We received those on Friday.
Okay, so they're not. So am I going to be able to look at anything? Or
I
are they just
have
going
those
to
available
talk
to pull
about
up.
those changes? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Was that a motion? Somebody's breaking up.
Yes, Cindy made a motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. And this one, I'll just say all in favor, signify by saying aye. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please state your name. All right. So we will move forward, okay, with the approval agenda as modified. We open up for public comment. Stacy, is there any public comment?
We have not received any written comment nor request to speak.
Well, to keep things moving along, I want to jump right into those, at least those 4 items. So I'll defer my comments until after we get through the stuff that we need to get done. So let's go right to GW Ride Connect work plan. I believe that's Kate.
Good evening. So I think what Adam has pulled up right now is the original resolution that was included in the packet. Basically, we are asking for approval of the GW Ride Connect work plan specifically for this UPC, which is the CMAC project with the annual off-the-top allocation. And the work plan is attached to the resolution. It was in your packet, I believe, at last month's meeting. So you all have seen this before, but we just want to formally approve the work plan for the year.
All right. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have a modified resolution 2041 that I would like you to pull up, and that's what we would like to work off of. Adam, could you pull up Spotsylvania's resolution?
Yes, that's pulled up now.
And want to explain the changes?
Paul, are you online right now? Agnello?
Good evening. Yes, I am.
Could you walk the board
would-
through the differences?
Sure, I can do that. There are just basically 3 changes, and I'll say good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We clarified the action, which I'll say that GW Ride Connect does not need FAMPO to approve their work plan. They need FAMPO to approve the 125,000 CMAC that's being used in the work plan. So there's a clarification of that, basically both in the title and the resolved sentence at the end. There's additional flexibility, basically, to put that the expenditures, basically for the 125, can go run through December 31st, 2021, which gives an additional 6 months for GW Ride Connect to use the funding. I'll say basically for this year, they weren't able to use all the funding within a 1-year time frame. Then the third whereas was shortened to just go down to basically what the actual basically FAMPO policy and procedures for CMAC and RSP say, that basically that there's a requirement that there has to be 125,000 CMAC available, which there is.
Any questions from the board? I'll ask a question, if either Kate or whomever, with regards to this motion that I'm actually saying for the first time. We have a resolution already on record, reaffirmed it, that we would commit the 125 to GW Ride Connect for the full 6-year plan. This is basically, as I read it, saying we're going to do it year to year. Is that correct?
So this is Kate. I believe that this is very similar to the resolution that was included in last year's at last year's meeting to basically do this 1-year approval. It has now been taken out of the spreadsheet, so this off-the-top allocation is slated to go away starting in FY22. But as far as process, this does seem to be the same process that was used at least last year.
So we're back to carrying it year to year.
Thanks, Greg. Mr. Chair?
Mr. McLaughlin.
Motion to approve this updated resolution 20-41.
Second from Shelton.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no and stating their name. No. Matt Kelly. I'm going to do chairman's time after we're done, and I'll address that issue more fully in that time frame. All right, next is the CMAC to lease parking. Kate, you're on again.
Sure. So this is the FY21 allocation of CMAQ funding for the leased parking spaces at Chatham Square Shopping Center, Claiborne Run Shopping Center, and the Fredericksburg Fieldhouse. The annual cost of that is $17,000. My understanding is that we need a resolution like this passed each year to continue that project.
Any comments from the members of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, motion is made. Do I get a second? I need a second from, who seconded?
Steiger.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
thank
question.
you. Tim, go ahead.
So this goes back to this ongoing, we're providing taxpayer money to commuters who are getting subsidized by the government and all that, and I get that. Have we looked at, we're supposed to do an analysis to determine whether we're even using all of the spaces. Was that done?
Mr. Chair, I can answer that. We do utilization counts twice a month, and with COVID-19, utilization has dropped off. But before that, we went through a process of reducing the number of leased spaces to be better aligned with the ongoing usage of those spaces. So we have not made any further reductions due to the reductions for COVID-19 because we're assuming that will go back up as people start to go back to work. But we had made reductions about 8 months ago, I think.
This is a discussion we had as a board a few months ago and agreed to move forward on this reduced level.
And I'm asking, how much was this reduced? Was it 24,000, now it's 17? That's the clarification I'm asking.
Oh.
I think at one point it was a $30,000 a year allocation and it's been reduced to 17. It may have been 25,000 at one point. Paul might remember better, but it has been reduced pretty significantly.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that we are continually reevaluating this and determining whether it's the best use of our funds. All right.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please state your name. All right, 8, we'll call it 7C, but it's 8I, UPWP approval. Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a couple updates from the conversation from this past Monday that I wanted to highlight. The first of which is the GWRC and FAMPO management team has presented a revised staffing proposal for FAMPO to the TAC this past Tuesday, and that does include 7 full-time equivalent positions. There is funding to cover all 7 positions in FY21 and FY22 using current projections, but there may be a substantial gap in FY23. However, we have had a few discussions at a staff level over the last 5 or 6 days, and there are a number of promising opportunities to help cover that gap in FY23 should one occur. So the plan right now is to keep all of the current FAMPO positions in place and let the next FAMPO administrator decide on the makeup of that 7 FTE staffing proposal. So those are sort of the major differences from last week. I will point out as well that based on a comment at last week's board meeting, as well as confirmation from VDOT this morning, that we would ask that if motion is made to approve this, that it include the addition of language to allow staff and the board to potentially utilize an executive search group to help hire a FAMPO administrator. We were told this morning by VDOT that that would be a reimbursable expense. So if that is the desire of the board, that's correct. So we would need to have a motion that includes amending the UPWP as it stands right now to include a line item for that activity.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, just a question. There are multiple search companies out there that do this kind of work. Who will decide who we hire?
I'll answer. We're covering a point we're going to talk about anyway. Right now, this is pretty much just putting in the UPWP to give us the option to go with a headhunter should the policy board decide to go in that direction. The question at the last meeting, I believe Tim brought it up, was could we go down this road? And the question was, if we go down this road, can it be reimbursed? and VDOT came back and said, as long as it's in the UPWP, it can be reimbursed. So this is more of giving the board an option as opposed to necessarily pulling the trigger on a headhunter.
Okay, thank you very much. Answers my question.
All right, so so the only point I would make on this, and I'm going to support the UPWP. It's a major document, and there's a lot of good stuff in here. But what surprises me, specifically with regards to the makeup of this board, who we all consider ourselves fiscal conservatives, we're spending money we don't know if we have yet. And that is just mind-boggling to me, but I will support it. But I do need first a motion to add in the language for the headhunter, that we have that option in the UPWP. So we need, if somebody wants to make a motion for the UPWP, but add that in as part of the motion, that would be great.
So we can have a line that's in the UPWP that says this is an option. So we have the opportunity to opt out later. Is that what I'm understanding?
I mean, we can decide not to spend money. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll make that motion.
With the change.
Yes, sir.
All right. I need a second.
Second, Steigerwald.
All right. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please state your name. Okay. All right. That's done. Move on to amendments. Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There have been no changes to the FY20 UPWP amendment since last week. Essentially what this is it formalizes the deprogramming of funds from our FY20 revenues straight to FY21. So this is a formalizing of a process that's taken place to project out our revenues for next year.
All right. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved by Chuck. Did you move that?
Steigerwald.
Yeah, Chuck moved it. Seconded by Mark. Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please state your name. All right, that passes. I'm going to jump in with chairman's time before we go on. What happened last Monday, and looks like it's happening again this evening, that information is being put into the mix the day of the meetings on, frankly, very significant changes to how FAMPO is operating, with little or no discussion whatsoever. So it's another evening for me of trying to read stuff for the first time and expecting to act on it. At the last meeting, not only were we throwing that information at us, which was not vetted by either VDOT or Federal Highways, or at least the Richmond branch of Federal Highways, have saw it for the first time, and decisions were based on that information. Not only that, a project which has not been vetted, not gone through the process, is added into a motion for funding. This is not the way FAMPO is supposed to operate. And this is very, very disconcerting to see this kind of operation of throwing things on the table. This has always been a deliberative body. This has always been a body where we don't necessarily agree, but I know a lot of you, we've had conversations, even heated conversations, but we've talked things through to get it done, not played gotcha, which is what happened the last meeting and what is happening this evening. GW Ride Connect is a crucial part of moving people up and down the 95 corridor. We made a 6-year commitment to that. We're operating basically 317 independent, privately run vans, and all we're doing is providing the support for it. And we're again going down the road of we want to use the money for other things with basically little or no discussion whatsoever, just throwing it out there and asking for votes. Again, This is not the way FAMPO has done things in the past, and it's disconcerting that we're going down this road again. I also would point out that during the course of the last meetings, questions were not asked of staff. Accusations were made both at VDOT and our staff. Our staff administrator, acting administrator Adam, wasn't even asked a question and tried to get in there to talk about both the hiring issues and the issues of Telegraph Hill project, which I don't even know what it is. Yet you're about to go ahead and vote on that, and probably, I understand, throw an additional resolution into play to pass that this evening. So I have talked to city manager, I have talked to Billy, I have talked to the mayor, and basically, if this is the way FAMPO is going to continue to operate, there is no reason for us to continue participating. When you guys can sit down and have a conversation about this, as we've always done in the past, and not play this gotcha crap, which we're going through again tonight, we'd be willing to sit down and chat with you. So at this point, I'll turn the meeting over to the vice chair, Ms. Shelton. I'm muting myself and leaving the meeting.
So, hey, Mr. Chair, so basically you're saying, Mr. Kelly, and I don't know if you've left or not, that you're going to have all the Fredericksburg members leave the meeting so we won't have a quorum?
If that's what he did, so be it. Do we still have a quorum?
You're still there. You're still on the computer. You really haven't left the meeting, so you need to hang up, or you're still there. You're muted. You took your picture away, but you're still there, Matt. And can you do us the favor of explaining your actions, to clarifying your actions?
So, Mrs. Chair, if I could point something out.
Go ahead, Mr. McLaughlin.
After the little rant we just heard there, but it's kind of frustrating because we just got documents last Thursday and Friday before the meeting. So we've gotten documents from FAMPO and GBC the day before. I mean, sometimes it's a dynamic organization and things change. So I think it was just a little unprofessional of the city to walk off the meeting like this. And I think let's just move through it. We'll vote on what we can vote on. And if it doesn't happen, then I guess we'll disband the organization. You know, again, I'll put the offer up there that Spotsy will host FAMPO if that's what we have to do.
Okay.
We'll be the fiscal agent if that's what we need to move forward on.
Welcome to the June 22nd Policy Committee meeting, attended by everybody but Fredericksburg. We'll worry about the quorum later. Let's go ahead and move to our discussion. I'm not going to comment on the comments that are already made because I don't see any value to that. We are very flexible. We've had not many times, thank God, where we've lost funding and we've had to rescore things at the last minute. So I don't quite understand some of those challenges. And the first item, if we're going through, is what was item 7B, which is a discussion on the TPB Memorandum of Understanding. And I believe Ms. Millsaps and Mr. Hager are going to bring that to the committee.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Shelton. I can give a quick update from a staff perspective as far as the TPB MOU goes. We did distribute a copy in May for the policy committee meeting packet. We have not received any comments on that until this past Friday from Stafford. Our staff's intention would be to have discussion tonight and then bring this for a vote next month if that's acceptable to the board. Again, since we just received the comments this past Friday, and haven't had the chance to distribute those to the rest of the committee members. I will ask Jason Towery if he would to present the additional proposed edits that were made, and I can pull that document up.
Sure. Okay, Mr. Towery, before you start, I just want to let the committee members know this is nothing new from all of our discussions before. It's just going to be more codified. Go ahead, Mr. Towery.
Sure. Adam, if you can go to page 3. And I don't know if you can zoom in at all for folks to see that any better, but there's 3 changes that we've proposed. Are all highlighted in yellow. The first one is just to call out specifically that the congestion management process, that would very specifically just have a section in it that would be devoted to and talk about the congestion management process for North Stafford. You're already going to have a CMP document as a part of this whole plan with the TPB. This basically just says that there will be a section in there that can be clearly marked as being for the area of North Stafford, and that's really just to clearly delineate and show that clearly, again, for the team. If there's no additional work, it's really just an administrative request for that document to be clearly shown. The item number C under the STP funds there, it's really just a point of clarification. Again, this does not change where the funding would or would not go. It's just clearly stating that the TMA area is the area in North Stafford that's included in the Washington, D.C. UZA. And then item number D, our recommendation would be to change the word. It used to say directly impact. We just thought it would be better to say directly benefit. So this is again for the area for the selection of projects that have STP, or for the selection of projects with STP funds, that those projects that the prioritization process would be such that it would be for projects that would show a benefit to the TMA. Of course, they could be projects outside of the TMA area, but just as long as there's a way to define a benefit to the TMA. And that's it.
Do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? This is open for discussion.
Well, there's not a motion on the table.
That's correct.
So I move for acceptance of the modified MOU as presented by Mr. Towery.
We are planned to discuss this and then bring it forward to a vote next meeting.
We don't have to do that.
That's true. We don't have to do that.
We've been talking about this thing for almost a year.
Okay.
There's nothing new here. And Mr. Kelly's rant was they kept stripping language out of this MOU all this time, which we didn't agree with. And now we want to go back to some of the original language that we put forward, and we want to call for a vote on that.
Okay, so you made a motion. Do we have
I made a motion.
My apologies for interrupting. Second.
Now we have discussion.
Are we having discussion?
Could I make a point? Ms. Shelton, this is Adam. Just one thing for the board to consider as a motion has been made is this is a bilateral document. This is an agreement with another organization. I think that the intention, looking back a couple months ago, was to take a document that had consensus amongst the FAMPO jurisdictions back to TPB for their consideration. So just as a process perspective, I'm not sure what a vote accomplishes from this committee at this point, since it's something that we would just have to take back to TPB for their staff and legal team to review. Just wanted to mention that before a vote's taken.
I'm sorry, let me clarify, Adam. The motion is that we approve the draft from our point of view and we send it to the TPB for review.
Okay.
I understand that it is a bilateral agreement and we have to get their approval on it, but we want to get to that point.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding as well that this is our consensus that we are going to send forward for negotiations from FAMPO. This is FAMPO's agreement. I agree. I seconded this motion.
Do we have any other discussion?
This is Marcy with VDOT. According to the FAMPO bylaws, if you don't have a voting member from each locality, you do not have a quorum, so you cannot make any votes now.
Madam Chair, this is David Ross. Marcy, are you a parliamentarian?
Just reading the bylaws that FAMPO wrote.
But so you're not a parliamentarian. Is that correct?
David, I'm reading the bylaws.
Sure,
you can't vote.
Will you answer my question, please? Will you please answer my question?
No.
Are you a parliamentarian?
I will
No?
not.
Oh, you won't answer a question.
Well,
Okay.
Ms. Chair.
Oh,
Madam Chair.
go ahead,
Oh,
Mr. Boston.
Hey, we fully understand that, Marcy. Mr. Kelly decided to play a little game with us and he walked out of the meeting. I believe that we're gonna go through and we'll make the motions and make the votes and we'll move forward with it. And when we have to re-vote all these, or if people don't get paid, you can go back and look at the city and ask why that happened.
I mean, the city withdrew. What are we supposed to do, Marcy? I don't think we have an option. It was their choice to withdraw.
She's right.
I don't know that they withdrew from FAMPO. They withdrew from the meeting, so that there's no.
I think he was pretty clear about wanting to withdraw from FAMPO.
That was my understanding as well, Mark.
Let's just vote them off the island.
Council would have to vote on that.
Yeah, let's not overreact to this, guys. So we have a motion and a second on the table and a discussion. And before we got started, one of the comments that I made is that because we didn't know whether we had a quorum or not, we were going to go ahead and proceed through this and act as if we did. And then to whoever's point was made that if these are non-valid and we have to go back and redo them, we will. And so the question I have is that, is there an opportunity for us to waive the bylaws? Does anybody on this call know the answer to that? We don't have a parliamentarian on this call.
I think you'd have to ask Adam.
Adam, can we waive the bylaws?
That is something that this committee could do, but my interpretation of the bylaws and what our staff's interpretation would be is that can only be done with a quorum. Our read of the bylaws that I have up here would match with what Ms. Parker from VDOT stated, that no action can take place without at least one voting representative from each Fredericksburg, Stafford County, and Spotsylvania County. Without the city here, our read of that is that there is no quorum and that the action would not be made official.
Madam Chair, what we're saying is that this meeting is useless and we should end it right now because Matt Kelly threw a temper tantrum.
I would ask one other question. Did Mr. Kelly coordinate with anybody from FAMPO, VDOT, PRTC prior to this discussion? So if I request a FOIL, will I find an email or anything?
Mr. McLaughlin, I think we have a good point of order. And so the discussion is should we really continue this meeting because we do not have a quorum? Are there any discussion items that we can discuss? This was a discussion item that does not require voting. So what I'd like to do is have someone make a motion that we adjourn the meeting or not. And if we decide to continue it, we will. Would someone like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
Hey, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just for a history lesson, Marcy is right, but it's kind of curious that she had the bylaws right in front of her tonight. And I guess I'm implying something, Marcy, that you could correct me, that you didn't have any conversations with Mr. Kelly prior to this or know anything about it, that so knowledgeably know about the bylaws. But she is right. And Spotsylvania County did this same thing. They didn't walk out of a meeting. We just didn't show up for one during the toll road episodes back in 2012 or 2013, of which Mr. Kelly and Court Sterling from Stafford chastised Spotsylvania County for doing so. And then they threatened to change the bylaws so that you did not need this rule. And and it's kind of funny, though, just for everybody's situational awareness, that now indeed Mr. Kelly, who was so upset about it years ago, and this is even worse in my opinion because he's walked out mid-meeting. We did not do that. But I think we need some changes. I mean, this has been a complete waste of time then for all of us. It's very inconsiderate. And Marcy, I hope there was no coordination beforehand because it is wasting a lot of our time, and it's disgraceful.
Clearly intent.
So
I did not
Madam
know
Chair,
that Mr. Kelly
Madam
was
Chair.
walking out of the meeting. and I just have staff online who was able to pull up the bylaws very quickly and give me the information.
Oh, thank you, Marcy.
Mr. Ross, I actually have a copy of the bylaws as well, and I was looking that up. I didn't have any prior coordination, so I just want to let you know. And with all due respect, who was addressing the chair?
Madam Chair.
Mr. McLaughlin, please go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask before we can't close this meeting, really to Adam, is there anything else that has to be voted on tonight? Is there something that, or action has to be taken, even if it's not a formal vote, just a direction from the board?
I don't believe so. I would ask perhaps Paul and Jason if for draft resolution 2046, if for some reason postponing a vote on that would cause any consternation from a smart scale perspective, if that's something that we should at least discuss tonight.
This is Jason. Go ahead, Paul.
I just wanted to make the point that with Smart Scale, the deadline right now is basically August 3rd. So say FAMPO could take action in July on the remaining basically RSTP allocations. It was desired to try to wrap this up in June, just so localities would have the information they need to make funding decisions on projects. So I think something is lost by FAMPO not being able to take action on it tonight, but it could still be done in July.
Thank you, Paul. Before we adjourn, I'd like to make another change. On Resolution 2041, I'd like to make the substitute 2041A so there's no confusion in the future. So I just want to change that so it's documented differently. Anybody have a problem with just changing it to 2041A? Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns before we have our next meeting, which is when, Adam?
20th.
20th of July? July 20th. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for coming to this meeting. I really appreciate your attendance and your perseverance and, oh my gosh, the patience and love. I love this group. Anyway, this meeting is adjourned.
Don't forget, we have a GWC meeting on Wednesday. I hope everybody shows up, but I don't think we need a quorum or a